President Cyril Ramaphosa says Morocco's illegal occupation of the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic remains concerning for both Africa and the international community. Ramaphosa has hosted his counterpart, Western Sahara President Brahim Ghali, at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. He's also stressed that Pretoria will continue to support peace efforts of the African Union and the United Nations to end the Western Sahara conflict.
It's yet another attempt to highlight the plight of the people of Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic. President Cyril Ramaphosa has stated categorically that they support the need to return to direct dialogue between Morocco and Western Sahara without preconditions.
Until the people of Western Sahara are able to exercise their own right to self-determination, the decolonization of Africa will be incomplete. As a country whose freedom was attained with the assistance of the international community and international support and solidarity, South Africa stands with the Sahrawi people in their struggle for self-determination. That is why South Africa continues to maintain strong and warm bilateral relations with the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic,
Pretoria has also conceded that there is a need for re-energized international campaign to push for self-determination in Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic.
Yes, we are concerned about the silence that persists in the world about the struggle for self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. We find that other struggles are articulated at a higher decibel than the struggle of the people of Western Sahara. And that is why, as South Africa, we are clear, we are firm, and we are unapologetic in relation to our support for the Sahrawi people.
President Ghali has also made an impassioned plea to the African countries to rally behind their cause as they seek freedom from Morocco.
Your Excellency,
but
President,
Morocco is also
brother,
gaining support in some countries in the continent, especially since it got readmitted to the African Union in 2017.
As an oppressed people,
يقدر معاناتنا وآلامنا من عانى مثلنا.
the people who suffered like us will appreciate our suffering.
وبدون شك
And undoubtedly,
كل شعوب القارة
all peoples of the African continent suffered from colonization, suffered from occupation, suffered from the violation of human rights, suffered from the oppression of the other. Therefore, and objectively, you should be in our side.
This year marks the 46th anniversary of illegal occupation of Western Sahara by Morocco, and President Ghali insists that they will not give up on their quest for freedom and statehood. Kylie Kumalo, SABC News, Pretoria.
Sidi, Omar is the Polisario Front representative at the United Nations and coordinator of MINURSO, the United Nations mission for the referendum in Western Sahara. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Much appreciated. As you saw there, President Ghali praising South Africa's firm stance towards the Sahrawi people and their just cause. But, you know, has support for self-determination of the Sahrawi grown exponentially over time? As in, have we seen a concerted effort to recognize their right to autonomy?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. Indeed, the words of President Ghali to his brother, President Ramaphosa, on the occasion of his state visit to the brotherly country of South Africa to transmit the message of the entire Sahrawi people, which is a message of deep gratitude and appreciation for the principled and historic position that the people and government of South Africa have always given to the Sahrawi people in their struggle, because, as President Ghali and his brother, President Ramaphosa, stressed, we are bound by strong relations of common struggle against colonialism, apartheid, and foreign occupation. So indeed, what we saw today and what we're going to see over the coming days is another demonstration of the support, the very strong support that the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination and independence is having around the world, and particularly on our dear continent in Africa. So indeed, the right of our people to self-determination and independence has been strongly supported by many countries around the world, because it is a right enshrined in the United Nations Charter and relevant resolutions of the United Nations.
And speaking of the United States, which is where the United Nations is based, it's changed its position from President Trump to President Biden. There now is a recognition that the Sahrawi need to be empowered to fight for self-determination, and indeed supports the issue of a referendum. But I just want to find out, has this given much needed impetus, particularly to other Western countries, to do the same?
Well, what the proclamation made by the former US President Donald Trump regarding the issue of Western Sahara was and continues to be a unilateral action lacking in any legitimacy, because what he sought to do is to give that which he does not have, which is the sovereignty over the territory of the Saharawi Republic. So that was the position taken by the former administration. This administration has not reaffirmed that position. It continues to support the United Nations efforts to bring about a speedy solution to this issue. So whatever are the positions taken by individual states, that will never change the legality of the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination and independence, because it does not depend on individual states' positions, but on international law and the very foundations on which the United Nations is built.
No. I want to come back to the lessons learned from South Africa and other regions. President Ghali making the comparisons, as you said, of the struggle of the people of South Africa that they've endured. And I'm wondering, just in conferring, when you look back at the transition to democracy in 1994, what lessons can be learned from our history, including the parallels, if you could say, for instance, with the peoples of Palestine and maybe Yemen?
Indeed, we have a common history of struggle against colonialism, apartheid, and foreign occupation. And we have followed very closely your struggle, as we did follow the struggle in Algeria, in Namibia, and other parts in Africa. And we continue to draw inspiration from those heroic struggles, because we know, however long the dark days may be, we shall prevail at the end. So indeed, we have a great deal to learn from your experience and the struggle waged by colonized people, and the presence of President Ghali leading a senior delegation from the Saharawi Republic these days in South Africa is a step towards solidifying those relationships and that common history that we have, in order to build a common presence for our peoples. So indeed, as I said, there are many parallels between our struggle and struggles of other peoples in Africa, and this is why President Ghali said that those people who had suffered from colonialism and apartheid and oppression are the ones who really understand the situation of the Sahrawi people, and South Africa and other friendly nations have always been at the forefront of supporting our right to independence and to recovering the sovereignty of our entire national territory.
Just in terms of the United Nations and perhaps even at the General Assembly or the Security Council, is there movement that is at least promising for the people of Western Sahara? Morocco has consistently said that the issue of autonomy can only be entertained under Rabat's sovereignty, which for me is a bit confusing because you can't really necessarily have it both ways. At an international level, multilateral level, how is this being interpreted? How is this deadlock can be broken? And is there political will within the United Nations to see this happen for the Sahrawi to finally get freedom?
Well, let me start by saying that the fourth committee of the General Assembly in charge of decolonization did adopt a few days ago a resolution reaffirming the legal nature of the question of Western Sahara as a decolonization issue. So that's the position of the United Nations. And yesterday, the Security Council met in close consultations on the renewal of the mandate of the United Nations Mission for the Referendum in Western Sahara. So the question of Western Sahara is strongly present at the level of the United Nations. And so regardless of the rhetoric of the other party, the fact remains that Morocco is an occupying power of some parts of the Saharawi Republic. And all that kind of discourse is meant primarily for internal consumption. Morocco doesn't have sovereignty over those territories of the Saharawi Republic, and it cannot grant our lands any form or any arrangement. So that's already an overtaken kind of a discourse. The question now is in the hands of both the General Assembly and the Security Council, and the discussions are going on. But what we have to remember, all of us, is that the Sahrawi people and the people of the Saharawi Republic do have legitimate right to restore our sovereignty over our entire national territory, and that this is a sacred right, internationally recognized, both by the United Nations and by the African Union. And as I said before, we draw inspiration from the struggles of our friendly countries and peoples, and we are fully sure that one day we will get there. One day we will achieve our freedom, and one day we will liberate our land, however long that may take us, and however sacrifices that we might have to make in order to walk that very long road and walk to freedom. You did, South Africa, you did walk that long walk to freedom. We also are walking that walk, and one day we'll get there.